If you're going to raise money as a founder,
Yes.
you need to be so respectful
Yes.
of every single dollar.
How much risk is AI adding to businesses in general?
I just think it will create more efficiency in businesses to free up founders. I think the ability to earn cash is completely underrated.
Leon, I know you for a while now, and you're very interesting character for many reasons to me. You're very knowledgeable across many different fields. So from my understanding, you at the moment run family office. Mm-hmm. You have interest in different companies. So you're really more invested than anything when it comes to your family office, right? But also you do a lot of property development as well. And I'm pretty sure you also exited out of one tech company.
Correct.
And you can't stop.
That's right.
So most people, or a lot of people would think when you exit out of any company successfully, enough. Let me put a feet up. Let me enjoy the fruits of my hard work over many years. But with you, it was like, okay, I can't stand still. I need to, get educated in different fields and, I want to keep going. Why is that?
Look, I'm an entrepreneur before anything else, right? I want to build great businesses. I see a problem and I want to solve it.
Yes.
And so whether that's been in technology or whether that's been in property or whether that's been in startups or whether that's been in trying to build an entity of any sort, it's here's a problem, here's a massive opportunity, let's fix the problem and let's attack the opportunity and let's build something great. So
would you say entrepreneur like yourself, you look at opportunities, doesn't matter what industries are. When you're starting your career and people will tell you, do what you love, do what you're passionate about it.
It absolutely does not matter what industry.
But as a true entrepreneur, you are driven by outcome, and also there's interesting things in every industry, right? Mm-hmm. So you can't say, this industry is boring. You can make every industry, I guess, likable if you're moving to the right direction.
I think it comes down to a framework. And if you can apply that framework, and everybody has their own individual frameworks or different frameworks, and they learn from others over time.
Yes.
I created one for myself and it was called the Ability Index.
Yes.
And it's that every business or every human has a range of abilities.
Yes.
Some business opportunities have greater abilities. Some people have better abilities.
Yes.
You might be a better salesperson than me. I might be a better manager than you.
Yes.
I might have a better ability to communicate or a better ability to analyze. So when you look at each of those abilities, you take that same framework into analyzing a business opportunity. And it doesn't matter what sort of market that is. I mean, there's certain markets that I wouldn't work in.
Yes.
But when you look at those and say, okay, where is the strengths? Where is the weaknesses in that? And where do I have abilities to be able to offer?
Yes.
And
they can add value, really.
They can add value and then use that framework to then jump into those particular areas. I don't think it particularly matters what type. And I've got an interesting story on a mutual friend of ours, Simon. He recently did a post about 6 months ago. I don't know how long ago. I was trying to find it the other day on if you wanted to make money in business and you wanted to pick up some money quickly, here's an idea that I have. Yes. And his idea was that there's 3.1 million pools across Australia. And of those pools, everybody needs a pool sign in order to make sure that they meet the regulations.
Yes.
Now, that possibly would be the most boring business you would ever think of.
Yes.
But for me, it was a challenge.
Yes.
I'm like, here's this guy. He's put out this challenge. 99.9% of people won't go and do it.
Yes.
I'm going to go and do it on my spare time.
Yes.
So you know what I did? I went and registered a domain, poolsigns.com.au.
Yes.
I then went and found my graphic designer who works within my team and I got him to design me 6 different pool signs.
Yes.
I then put them up on a Shopify site.
Yes.
And then we started getting sales.
Yes.
That creates a business which then can fund a whole range of other things just through the idea that this could be done.
Yes, but how many people can hear a million ideas out there but never do anything about it?
I think there's ideas all the time.
But see, it's being able to pick it up, analyze it quickly, look if there's a market for it,
Absolutely.
and act.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think really what you are more than anything is opportunist. You know,
Yeah, the ability to actually see something and take
identify it.
and
there's
take a
room.
chance.
Yes.
And take a chance.
So this business is live now.
Live, yeah, poolsigns.com.au. If you need a pool sign, go ahead.
You know, bring it up on this. And
Now, I will caution this with it is the most terrible website, and I don't know how people are actually transacting on it.
well,
at the
there you
moment.
go.
But yeah, that's it. Pool safety starts here. And I was just like, I knew I was going to see Simon again over the next 6 months.
Yes,
I knew I was
yes.
going to see you. And I was like, you know what I'm going to do?
Simon would be like, where the F is my cut here?
And I just wanted to do that because, you know, like it doesn't matter about the business itself.
Yes.
It's about the ability to action, and it's then the framework that you implement.
Yes.
Right? So there's certain frameworks that you would implement in that decisions. Don't want to spend too much money.
Yes.
Right? Needs to be zero touch. Once it's
Yes.
set up, it needs to be set and forget.
Yes.
Automation. I know Simon talked in that about, you know, the use of AI.
Yes.
I was like, we're doing some things in AI
Yes.
with our other businesses, in our portfolio businesses, but it was just a little bit too complicated. So I went back old school. I found somebody with a mailing list of
Yes.
every single pool owner in Australia.
Yes,
That
yes.
mailing list is 3 odd million people.
Yes.
And for literally 35 cents per person, you can get that name and address, and then you can get the details and
Yes.
send them a letter.
So this is a pool signs where it tells you the safety stuff and so on.
Yeah, we'll send you one next week. They're getting printed at the moment.
Please do.
Yeah. What color do you want?
Reason why? Because I don't think I have one. And I get little kids that are playing around the pool all the time. And it's just unbelievable. Let me ask you this. You speak to a lot of business owners that are just starting their businesses,
Yes.
right? Because running a family office, just like, you know, for Giselle and I, we get approached 100 times a month. People saying, yeah, I got this idea. I can invest money here. I can invest money there. Why? What is the biggest reason that a lot of startups fail?
Distraction.
100% agree.
I think founders, you earn the right to be distracted,
Yes.
right?
Over time.
Over time.
Yes.
And over runs on the board and building out a foundation.
See, you know, perfect example. You know, I have money invested in one specific company, and founder just company, not even 18 months in. You know, he's not even scratching the surface. You know, he's already looking for the side business. I say, buddy,
Deep.
dig deep, put your heels in ground deep. You know,
You have to.
Because I said, you know, first of all, if I'm investing money in your business and you're a startup, I want you 100% focus. Make this only way you should, like, for example, even in my case, for many years, head down, bum up. I didn't know if it was a daylight outside or what day it is or what year it is. It's just make the business profitable, make it strong enough that if I do decide to do something elsewhere, business won't be affected without me in it. You know, so I think that distraction, ooh.
And you know, distraction starts on the next shiny thing. And I've had it
Yes.
all my life.
Yes.
But when it comes to building the business, you need to be completely focused.
Yes.
And you need to go and say, okay, this is the business that I'm building.
Yes.
And I found out later in life that now you do things that you love. Right.
Yes.
So we've recently launched a new business, which I'm going to be the CEO of, which I'm going to enjoy doing just because it's something that I'm going to love.
Yes.
But I've earned that right, so to speak. So
Yes.
I'm
You've been around the block for long enough.
the foundations are set, right? So, you know, I don't owe shareholders anything. I don't have shareholders, so I don't own them them anything. I have been able to then focus on my family and give them a foundation.
Yes,
so
yes.
entrepreneurs need to realize that when they're building business, they have to be selfish and they have to be focused and dedicated to that particular
Yes.
cause or that particular outcome that they're trying to achieve. Even more so if they start to have shareholders or investors.
Then responsibility is another level.
Of course.
Because you as a investor, it's very simple. You know, you invest money into anything to have a better outcome tomorrow. What the hell is the point otherwise?
And I don't think, I think raising money, whatever the cyclical market is at that particular time, it is fairly easy, right?
Yes.
If you've got an idea and a motivation and potentially some runs on the board, you can go and raise money.
Yes.
There's a lot of investors that I've battled with it over the past 2 years. We've got our technology incubator called Haystack Capital, which invests in businesses. But it's very difficult finding one that I would like to deeply get involved in, because when you look at their deck or you speak to that person, they're doing particularly well, but they've got all of these ambitions to do other things before they, as you said, become profitable, before the foundation's built, that they then can go on and grow.
And also, look, to be honest, let's face it, idea is 0.00001 of actually making something a reality and real business.
Everybody's got ideas.
I can tell you, between two of us, over the next 1 hour, we can come up with probably 50 ideas, and 5 of them might be great.
Yep.
But to make them into reality, it's a different kettle of fish. So have you heard of Mate Rimek?
No.
Mate Rimek is young Croatian guy who he's only about 34 years old. So when he was 22 or 23 years old, he had a like a $500 BMW, and he wanted to go on the racetracks, and race other cars. But of course, the car was 4 cylinders, I don't know, maybe 100 horsepower,
Sure.
and other people were beating him. So he was like, shit, man, I'm going to try to create an electric motor for my BMW so I can beat everybody else. And he did, and he was faster than everybody else. And to cut the story short, he created a little company then, and he was constantly raising money. He was constantly running out of money, and he created this car, Rimac. It was the fastest car in the world, and now he's got another Rimac Nevera, which is the fastest car in the world. But most importantly, now he owns technology that he does all the electric motors for Hyundai, Kia, I'm pretty sure it's BMW, Porsche, and to the point where he owns Bugatti now. Not Bugatti car. Bugatti is a fucking brand, and even SoftBank, the
Son.
Yes, I think he invested like $1 billion into his business, and so anyway, there was an interview done with him. And he was just talking about his 12, 13 years journey into creating now what is, I think, $15 or $20 billion company. With him, he said the amount of times they were so close to actually failing, folding, couldn't pay the fucking wages. And then he was talking about what people are coming to him with saying, hey, I got an idea. He was like, man, what took him 12, 13 years to make his idea, which was a solid idea, a reality and a multi-billion-dollar company. It's
the perseverance as well, right? So you become so focused and so dedicated towards something. You've then got to persevere, right?
Yes.
And ideas come and go. Everybody's got them. They're like backsides, right? Everybody's got one. Everybody's got multiple. Nobody has multiple backsides. You get one way.
Yes.
But the point is, you might have those ideas, and without the perseverance to keep going and keep going and keep going.
Yes.
When times are tough, and times do get bloody tough, right? I mean, with our business that my wife and myself exited, we were at it for about 10 years before we exited. We sold 2 homes to keep the thing operating, right? We entered into growing new markets once we actually had the foundation, but put everything on the line to be able to do it.
And people don't understand. Everybody likes the idea of that, but for you guys, and did you have kids when you sold 2 homes?
Well, it's interesting. We did, yes. And our first child, that's why we've come back to Brisbane to settle down and give her the stability, because she went through 6 homes across 3 different countries whilst we were building the business, and she's only 10. And
so she from school to school to school to school.
We started off in Brisbane, then we went to Melbourne.
Which, by the way, it's not easy on kids.
It's not. It's easier when they're at those younger years, I believe. When they get older,
then they start developing friendships
and you want to give them the stability. And I mean, we're just blessed that she's just an amazing child.
Yes.
But, we now see it with our 2 youngest that they've got the fruits of and you've got to change the I guess the structure of fatherhood and the way in which you do it, but they've also got that stability now where they don't have to be in those multiple countries, although they did spend time in Ireland and then back here. And so when you sort of look at that, okay, well, you've got this idea, you've got the perseverance, and you're continuing to do it. A a lot of people just aren't up for that.
Yes,
They're not up to continue to move their kids from city to city or country to country. They're not up for the perseverance of, oh, we've got a house now that we need to sell because we've got, tax liabilities, or we've got R&D requirements, or we've got to buy stock. We've got to buy. We were selling the world's most expensive rubbish bin, a $10,000 rubbish bin, right? And having that stock on the water for 3-4 months, you've got to be able to fund that in some way. And so as you go through this process of perseverance without having that real focus and that real dedication and that real alignment to whatever it is.
And the problem with a lot of businesses, and I experienced this all my life, when you are constantly growing and when you're ambitious enough to keep growing, well, the problem that lies there, constantly all the money that you make, you keep reinvesting.
Exactly.
I always say, not that it's easy. There's no such a thing as easy business. But if two of us are running accounting practice, there's two of us, there's two other accountants, and we take, $1.5 million worth of work a year, same clients for 20 years. You kind of can control how much you're going to grow. You know what? We don't want to take any more clients. If you lose one, we'll just get another one. So that way we got a normal life, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, no stress. That's kind of just running a normal, what I would call business. Or could be even real estate office with 2 other agents or whatever the hell it is. But when you set yourself a high targets to really keep climbing the mountain with that business, then every dollar you make is like, you know what? I remember the days when my accountant would tell me, Emil, you made $3 million, when in early stages, like, where the fuck is $3 million? I don't have any. Because you constantly, every dollar that you make, keep reinvesting, specifically when you are in the development world, when you are specifically if you're just property developer. In a lot of cases, all depends what you're doing. There is no money besides you putting money in constantly all the time. And then once you finalize the project, sell it and settle it, then you're getting your dollars back. And it's constantly just chasing this freaking tail and going all in. But I don't think everybody has a stomach to be disciplined.
No, they don't.
Disciplined, it's a different, and there's a different scale of risk. What you're talking about is a risk with all in, when you have to sell your houses to keep, moving forward with your business.
To buy more rubbish bins.
You
sort of look at it and go.
But I think, and you're still with the same wife?
I'm still with the same wife. We've been together now just over 20 years.
Okay. The reason why I said that, because there's not many partners, wives or husbands, that would actually support journey like that.
Well, I was blessed, and you see on Instagram or on social media the biggest decision that you can ever make a decision in business is who's your partner going to be.
You married the wrong one, you fucked.
Exactly. And I was so blessed. We met in Scotland in 2023.
So she's Scottish?
No, she's South African.
So Australian, South African.
Walk into a bar in Scotland. No, it was actually a castle in Scotland. But, so we met there, and we lived together. And then I said I want to move back to Australia. I wanted to take this concept, this idea that we were working in. So we were working in an energy market, the deregulated energy market over there in the UK. And she was in the recruitment side of the business, and I was the head of head of sales training. And we used to recruit people all over the world, and we would bring them to Heathrow, fly them to Heathrow, from Heathrow to Glasgow or to Edinburgh Airport, take them to the castle in the middle of Scotland, and I would sit there and I would train them for a week.
Were you living there for a while?
I started off did what everybody does, or many people do, backpack to England, and found this great job. And then went on the journey with this company. It completely changed my life, my perspective, my life. I'm so grateful for that. And
why did you decide to go there?
The basics were sorted. I had a British passport. My mum, God bless her, she was British. So I had a British passport. We had a lot of family there. She had 4 sisters and 5 brothers, and they all lived in Manchester. So there was a network there that I guess I could have jumped into. And then some friends were going to London. So it was like, jump on and go there for 2 years.
Especially young, single.
Head over.
Let me stop you there. Would you recommend that experience to anybody in the early 20s?
Everybody. I've seen my cousin. She recently left, and she went to England, and she was little bit introverted, maybe just around family, but
Yes.
and she has blossomed into a beautiful young lady. Just been over there. She's working in a WeWork style company as an operations manager.
yes.
Just loves it. She gets to on the Fridays.
See, people don't realize that we only have one life.
Yeah.
And in this one life, there's a part of journey that you can only do at certain age.
And travel is the journey that gives you the world's experiences.
And especially when you're young, when you're developing yourself, right? And I always say, when kids are kids, you want them to be smart, intelligent, but you also want them to be kids. You want them to, hit a ball with their mates in afternoon or whatever. You still want them to be kids. But also when you're in 20s, that travel solo kind of, like right now you're having 2 kids, you can't physically have
kids.
that. 3 kids. But having 3 kids, you physically can never have that experience like you had that when you were in your early 20s.
Yeah.
Travel, move, this and that, But now as the kids get older, you kind of need a base.
And it becomes you need the base, and it becomes a different type of travel.
But also it becomes a different type of experience too, right? Because when you're in your 20, it's like when you start your own business, you think, oh my God, I got so much pressure, there's so much. When you think about your first business when you started and the knowledge that you had then and the knowledge that you have today, when you look back, you think to yourself, man, I can run that business in my little finger.
It was actually interesting. We'd just gone through moving home, and I've got some photos, but we spent a Monday night and we got a fire out in the backyard, and we had to burn all of these contracts, right? So they were contracts for customers that we did in 2007, folders and folders of contracts that I've kept throughout this year. I had the 7 years that I had to keep them, and then we never got around to getting rid of them. So we went through the process of burning them. And I was looking at this business. That was effectively, I was burning this business that we'd started. My wife and I had started. It was our first business here when we came back from Scotland. And I was just amazed the amount of deals that we had been able to create. And
every deal required a lot of time, energy.
I was looking at the photos there. I kept the photos, but I was looking at the photos of the sales teams that we developed. So the first business that we in the UK or in Scotland was in the deregulated energy market.
Yes.
And then I was like, I can do this in Australia. And the energy market in 2007 was becoming deregulated here. And so we came back and we started a sales team here, and we started selling gas and electricity door to door. And very quickly we scaled, and we did incredible. Like we were doing thousands of deals a week, just going and explaining this process of how customers could save money on their energy bills. And this is where I learned my first most important rule of business. And that is never have one of anything in business. Never have one supplier, never have one customer, never have one product. Because if you've got one, you have the ability to lose.
All your eggs in one basket. There's that old saying.
Exactly.
It's not there for no reason.
And we had, back in 2007 and 8, we had very hot summers. The energy companies pulled out, right? And only left the incumbents because they'd hedged their electricity at a certain rate and purchased a certain amount. And to buy more electricity to fund or to supply the customers that we were bringing on for them, they couldn't. So they ended up pulling out of the market, and we were left there holding the bag. But luckily, we'd been building on the side of that a digitalized version of this, and this was Australia's first energy comparison website. And that was a company called Switch Select. And what we would do is we would compare the electricity providers, much like compare the market and Switch and all the others. There's a dime a dozen of them, and now Finder's another one. And we would compare them on all the companies online, and then take a commission that way. So there was no.
Was it hard for your family, yourself and your wife, to make a decision to actually sell?
Yes.
I'll tell you why. Yeah. About last year, actually about 2 years ago, before we demolished the old home and started building this one, there's a hallway in this house, long hallway, and I'm standing in one hallway and I'm looking at my wife, maybe, I don't know, 7-8 meters away from me. She was standing there. And within 1 second, so many thoughts went to my head. We sold all of our companies. And the next day, I am standing here. How would I feel? Mm-hmm. So when you are actively running your business with, I don't know, 20, 50 staff or 500 staff or whatever it is, when you're actively, it becomes you, right? It becomes part of your life and it becomes who you are, because especially when you start from scratch like yourself. And so in that one moment, every thought went to my head, how would I feel the next day? Would I feel empty? Would I feel not useful? How would I feel? So how did you feel the next day?
Well, I'll tell you about that day, not the next day, because the day sits in my mind. I'll never forget the day that the actual check cleared. And I was in Greenslopes Hospital and I was in the fetal position because...
Were you in Greenslopes Hospitals because you were sick?
No, I was in the Greenslopes Hospital because my youngest son had just been born.
Oh.
So on the same day...
So that's better news than money.
It was better news than money, but the amount of emotion and the anxiety release and then the positivity and then the unknown just left me completely... Like in my book, I've written, the last chapter is called The Exit. And
is the book out?
It's coming out. Yeah, it's coming out in February.
In February?
Yeah, it's called The Ability Index.
Okay.
And it takes you through... The different chapters take you through the steps.
Question, do you already have a website where people can register to get your book?
Yeah, they can. Abilityindex.com.
Okay. Can you just put it out there, Scott? Okay.
Yeah, so
I better get a freaking signed copy just for the record.
I'll send it.
I'll find where you're living. I'll wait 6 o'clock in the morning before your personal trainer comes.
We'll send through the manuscript. And so in there we talk about the exit. And the exit you need to prepare for just as much as every single one of those other steps. But you can't prepare two ways you can prepare for it prior. You don't want to be thinking about the exit, right, of what's next, because you just don't know. You don't know if that term sheet is actually going to complete. Yes. You don't know if, your due diligence is actually going to finish and, be approved. And we sold our business in COVID. So I'd never met the owners apart from virtually.
You couldn't.
I couldn't. In fact, when we left the country to go and open offices in Austin, and then we ended up moving to Dublin, the borders were still shut in Australia. Yes. So you're sort of sitting there, and you've got you're trying to get to this point of selling the business and getting it through, and you're doing the hours, and we were doing negotiations with PwC from our end and KPMG from their end, and the buyer. At 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, because that's what time, everybody's time zones would align. We had the buyer was an Irish company with offices in San Diego. So we had San Diego, Dublin, Sydney, Melbourne, which PwC was based, and myself in Brisbane. So I was the one that just had to do it and meet everybody else's expectations. So you go through that and you're not thinking about this exit. And then all of a sudden it gets to the point of reality. That day that it actually happened, I was so elated and I was so fresh, so free, but I couldn't process it. I couldn't understand what that would mean. Obviously, my center of focus.
It takes time. Life. It takes time and becomes overwhelming because you're not prepared.
Yeah.
Because
it's very difficult to get prepared without going through it.
Correct.
Yeah.
And also when you're going through it, you kind of reach the point where you're not tired of going through it, but you're just so invested into making it happen. And then
I will say one thing though. So I went through, and this is always, there's a lot of people that go through businesses. So effectively my business was sold twice and I was a shareholder both times. So the first time that we sold in 2021, we sold it to an Irish company. And as part of that deal, there was...
Part was cash, part shares.
There was some carrots, there was some, some opportunity into the future, and there was a target where they were trying to take their business.
Yes.
And I was all down for that. And that just got fast-tracked. So in 2023, they got approached by a private equity firm at a very high multiple.
Higher than what you originally sold it to them?
Higher, yeah. But I was just one piece. So they'd gone through and they...
So it was better for you to still have part in that.
Absolutely. And we were still young, right? So we had no debt then. We were able to have enough to buy. We were talking to earlier about, some purchases that we effectively took all of our money and put it straight into land. It was just our focus.
Yes.
I'll buy silly stuff with it.
Yes.
I did. I went and bought a beautiful car, and which also comes with its own experiences, which money can't buy. So, you buy lots of stuff, but we put the vast majority of it into land. And then, So we've come through that process, and then you get to through the exit, and you're like, okay, wait, what now? And we sold it in 21. Within 23, it got acquired by this private equity company, and it was at that point in time.
That was a real exit.
That was the complete exit. That was like, you're not tied here anymore. But then I was invited to tag along on the next iteration of that particular business as well. So I stayed there for about 6-7 months. And some things changed, and eventually I left. And that was the real gut-wrenching, I've lost a child moment.
Yes.
And I spent the best part of last year grappling with that and really trying to identify my identity, thinking that I could be an investor, which I could be, but that become with its challenges, more internal challenges of, hey, you're not doing it the right way. I want you to do it this way, or you need to be doing it this way, or giving somebody the flexibility. It meant that I was then spending money, time and resources over in somewhere else. And it was really trying to identify the identity which had been ripped from me because the business was no longer mine. And I think every entrepreneur who sells would probably go through that in some way. And in the book, I write about the exit and how you need to really prepare for that, whether it be you prepare for it by not spending money, whether it be you prepare for it by not making any major life-changing decisions for 6 months, whether it be you really take the time to decompress with your loved ones and those people that mean something to you.
Because it's we have exited now out of few companies, Giselle and I, but it becomes this interesting feeling when that happens. It's like part of you, it's going.
Well, it's more than just the part of you. It's like, what do you do?
Yes.
Right? Like, I'm in a T-shirt today. For the past decade, I was in a shirt. We looked at all my ties yesterday. I didn't need to wear a tie. I just felt like I had to act as if while building this business.
Yes.
While I was speaking to customers, while I was going out, I had to be professional and had to have that. Then all of a sudden something happens.
Yes.
And whether it be that you no longer need to attune to that, or you can have the confidence. And for me, it was more about having the confidence. Not that I never had the confidence, just that I felt that the person sitting on the other side would want to see me in that shirt and tie.
Yes.
So what do I do now? I don't need to wear it, so I don't.
Let me ask you this question. What is more, in the time goes so fast, right? Before, how old are you now?
42.
42. Yeah. I'm 45. But the reality is, like, we're not 18 anymore, right? So time is just passing, right? And so looking back, everything that we do, we try to enjoy it as much as we possibly can. Otherwise, what the hell is the point of living? What do you think is more fun, I guess, for you? Being investor or running your companies?
Running the companies.
Being involved in the process.
In the process.
So in the companies that you invest money in, do you always push to actually be involved and add value, or you just prefer to be money?
I prefer, and I'm now making that rule that I won't do it without some sort of involvement.
Yes.
I think money, my wife says this best, is that, money comes and goes. Money is we always come right, she says. We always come right? And that was most needed during those early years of building the business. And, you're trying to make things happen, and you've got lumpy cash flow and all of the challenges of business happen, but you'll always come right. So I've sort of taken that now, in that the time that I spend is far worth more of a multiple. I have not worked out the multiple yet, but far higher multiple than the money of me giving it to them. Because how often does here's a check for $100,000 become, 10
and also, to be honest, if you're specifically investing money into startup, and if you're investing into people that don't have business experience, they need you more than they need the money.
They need the guidance.
And
you need to give them the ability to find it out on their own. But I was talking to a colleague and a very good mate of mine who we've invested. He was a shareholder in my original business, not a financial shareholder, but a director. And I gave him a chunk of the business because I needed somebody that, other than my wife and other than my direct family, that I could speak to and be mentored by as I was building it. And he was younger than me, and he is younger than me, and but I felt that I could get that. And I think that's really important. Those people come around. When you find those people, you've got to really work with them. And we were saying that we didn't make a golden rule or a handshake rule. It was just like, if we have tech businesses or we come up with tech businesses, we will bring them to each other and we'll have that conversation and maybe invest equally into them. We never had that. He built his own business, was a cleaning business first, built it into one of Australia's largest cleaning businesses, and then went on to a video conference company and a technology business.
That's not the one that I met in Melbourne.
Yes, you know him, Jordan.
Yes, we were chasing each other.
He also has an STO. He would say it's the most beautiful STO in the country. I'm sure you say yours is.
Mine is a girly one. He's got a freaking... When I was buying it, it's supposed to be pure purple. Then when I got the car, I think there's a bit of a pink in it.
He does like to laugh. He's like, so you're going to speak to Emil, the one with the pink. And so... In fact, when we sold the business the first time, I couldn't believe it, right? So the first time we sold it, he then sends me on WhatsApp a couple of weeks later, pictures of his supercars, right, that he's gone out there and bought. And one was the Aston Martin Vantage, and then from then he bought the I think was it the white Lamborghini with the Italian stripes. So and so that first time we didn't do any of that. Bang, straight into the land, and then onwards and upwards.
Which is good.
Which is good. I mean, it works out well, right?
Let me ask, interesting. I was telling you before about interview that I just watched, Patrick Bet-David and Tony Robbins. And so anyway, they were talking about one particular deal that Tony Robbins did. He lost $125 million, and the person that invested money in, he thought that he was a billionaire, that he had money, and realized later had no money, and so on. Anyway, so what they were saying, what Tony Robbins does, every time he gets approached by somebody that he wants to do business with, he would tell them, for example, hey, Leon, I want to do business with you, but I'm just going to be upfront with you. I have just employed a private investigator. It's going to cost me, all depends how deep they're going to dig. They're going to investigate everything about yourself, your past, and so on. And when stuff comes up, I'm just going to discuss it with you so you can clarify it. But he doesn't invest any money with anybody unless he employs private investigator who will dig deep about the person that he's about to do business with.
Wow.
What do you think of that?
I think...
And he's honest. He tells them that.
I think the honesty policy, it depends what sort of... I mean, you're going to do that for a $100,000 check. I mean, you've got to do your background research.
Yes.
But we were talking also earlier about referrals.
Yes.
And I think people who are emotionally intelligent enough to accept advice and guidance,
yes,
they then have an idea, they have some motivations and runs on the board. They're the people that I'm looking to invest in.
Well, to be honest, I think if I hired a private investigator to investigate if I should do business with you or not, and he tells me, hey, you know what, Leon had 2 companies 10 years ago and they both went belly up.
Yeah.
I would like that.
Yeah.
Because...
But why wouldn't you say that if you were the entrepreneur?
Correct.
Do you know what I mean? You need to be an open book. That's another thing. You don't want to be finding things out.
Because if you're not honest straight away, it's better.
That's what I was saying with Jordan. We're coming up. I call it coming up. We're still young, but coming up, we didn't have the money, the checks handed to us,
yes,
right? Or here's
it was all the money you make.
You get it from sales,
yes,
right?
Yes.
You get it from sales and selling houses, right? So they're the two things. So as it now becomes. I think if you're going to raise money as a founder,
yes,
you need to be so respectful.
Yes.
Of every single dollar that you raise and of the shareholders. Some shareholders like to sit back and do not much, but I know all of the successful ones that have been successful entrepreneurs that I know, and then they become investors. They all want to be onwards.
Well, to be honest, every younger individual who's got a great idea, who's talented enough to potentially pull it off, my advice to them is, if you are looking for money, look for money that can also add value. People that want to be involved, because to be honest, people think, okay, I got a great idea, I'm going to raise $2 million and I'm going to make it happen. That's just a small part. To make any idea a reality and profitable fucking business tomorrow, it just takes a lot. So any advice they can get from somebody who has done it, grab it with both hands.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I think nowadays it's easier to access those people.
Yes.
But I mean, you can't go and like I watch on Instagram, somebody like Al Bortz, right? Who he posts how he gets approached all the time about people wanting to get a job with him.
Yes.
And it's just people don't try and go out of the way in a unique way to become or to get in there to get a job, or do it with honesty and integrity. Maybe they're doing it with stupidity and they're just blindsided by the fact that they'll be able to do it. I do see that from time to time with people with seeking money or seeking investment. So for us, it's about how can we add value? I've built a team around me. So we have a CTO and a chief product officer. I call them the technical wizard and the product wizard. And we have created a footprint and a blueprint that we go through to identify whether or not this is an investable product. And then if it's an investable product or investable, group or person, how then we can add value. And so we structure then whether it be investment, so capital investment was one option. Time is another option, and I don't really like charging for time, but it's a big. If something's a new idea, I will take sweat equity for it because I know that what I will do out of 1 week will be what somebody else will do in a month. I know what my product wizard will do in 1 day would be more than an agency would charge. Would deliver them $50,000 to $100,000. And so, and then the runs come on the board, right? Like, okay, well, how quickly can you do and deliver? And then the third option is, sometimes we give a loan, but loans are, or a con note, but it becomes a bit of a challenge then because it's always a hindrance to the entrepreneur, and they're always thinking of that. Whereas to me, if you were cutting a loan for $50,000 or $100,000 to somebody, yes, you want that money back. Yes, I could earn 5 or 6, 7% on it. Yes, you could earn much more of it if you're doing something else with it or putting it into your own businesses. But for them, it's a hindrance, right? To when you're giving a loan of that much, you've sort of forgotten about it. And I don't mean that,
If it becomes reality one day, something big, happy days.
Exactly.
But it's almost like going to a casino and putting it red or black.
Correct. And for them, it should be at the top of mind. And so I don't really like embargoing that onto a company. So it's really the only way to do it is to jump in and to help them move, miss some of the hurdles that would come in business. And that's one of the biggest things. And then the black book, who can be invited to the table that might be interested to be able to help grow this particular business, whatever it might be.
You are heavily investing now into property.
Correct.
Do you find that business specifically more enjoyable than anything you've been involved in the past?
So we've lived in Hendra
because it's more hands-on doing what you were doing before.
Correct, and that's the point, right?
Because right now you can have $100 million under construction with pretty much almost no staff.
Correct.
And to have $100 million in the old business, you need to have an army.
Exactly. So we would sit, and our old business, we had a product business, so we would sell the hardware. We had a software business, so with every piece of hardware.
People and more people employed.
There was software to build it. We had to design it, build it.
Yes.
And then there was the installers, so people out there
more
installing.
People
and
employed.
And then people going out there and servicing it on a monthly basis.
Army.
An army, right? So you've got all of this, and it's the best model. It's like I adopt that same model going into property in a way. And that goes back to that not having one of anything, right? If I was just selling the hardware, I'm leaving so much on the table. If I sell the software, I've got a monthly recurring. If I sell the installation, I just got my Vuli trampoline pulled down and put back up. And I was speaking to the installer yesterday about how well Joe and the guys have done it over at Vuli and how well they've just grown it. And because they offer the hardware, then they offer the installation and then the delivery, and it's all encompassing. And that's what we did with this particular business. But then to your question, we then sort of look at something like Haycorp, which is our property development. the reason I've got back into our technology investments quite significantly and our other businesses quite significantly is because, it is very hands-off.
Yes.
So, you and if we go back, say, 5 or 6 years ago, one of the releases from the day-to-day of business is my wife Silka and I would jump into the car at lunchtime and we would just drive around Hendra or just drive around Ascot, just drive around and just look at the property and look at realestate.com and go, wow, that's amazing. Oh, wow, they're building that there. Oh, wow. And we just as a release out of the office and knowing that this is what we wanted to do. This was why we were working so hard so we could eventually build a property development company. Then when we came back to Brisbane and we started building this property development company, it was like, okay, well, what do we do now? So you go to the tile company, you have a look at the stone or the tile company, and
Which you can also employ interior designer to do that for you as well, so you don't even have to do that.
Correct. You choose what you like, and then
because the interior designer can bring all that to your home. They can say pick 1 out of 5.
And then you tell the builder and the architect exactly what you like, and
you're just putting puzzles together.
Once a month you might go, once every 2 weeks you might go.
One. If we're going to talk about one development, let's talk about even one luxury home. Technically, if you're just a developer, not a builder is a fucking hands-on. But on that one $4 million home, you don't need to spend more than 4 days in time.
It's all here. It's all here. This one particular property that we bought, it actually gets demolished in March. And we bought it in 2021. And it went up on Facebook on the agent's website, best agent in Hendra, lady by the name of Cressy Morley. She posted it and said sold. And then all of the comments were all, at that particular time, the price paid for the size of the block and for the house that was on it. Yes. It was just like, are you guys ludicrous? Are you guys from out of town? Yes. Like, what's going on here? And Cressy, at that time said, and commented back, oh, just a local family looking forward to renovating it. No, it can't be knocked down. Beautiful 855 square metres on the racecourse. But that was a decision that was needed to make, over a cup of coffee and over the knowledge that we had. But it took all of 15 minutes to make the decision and then all of maybe, a couple of hours to sign documents and to deal with whoever to get the deal done. And then we hold that property. We then go through the process and we had to go through a DA process and go through an application to remove it. And we did a 90-page heritage report to be able to prove that it should be able to be removed. And we got that through. But again, we didn't do the work. We just had to put the strategy, put in the right people. And I look at my black book now of my property development company. It's 12 people strong. They're all fantastic and the best at what they do.
And they're all contractors.
So
you are basically almost unemployed yourself.
Absolutely. But then you have to have an ambition and a drive for where do you see that going. Right?
What do you think, what have you learned about, because you really started getting heavier into property development over the last 4 years, correct? Being 4 years, playing with real money, what have you learned?
You will definitely make mistakes. I thought there was never a way I would ever make mistakes. I used to... But
you know what's interesting? Even when we are getting older, when we have experience in running business, you think to yourself, you know what, I got so much life and business experience. Doesn't matter what I get into, I'm not going to make mistakes. Like, buddy, you're going to fuck up.
Yeah. I've learned so much. Some of them have sprouted new business ideas. So like number one with property, you buy it, you make a significant portion of your earnings, your exit earnings, when you buy, right? Yes. And that might just be that you pay market for it at the right time. And you can never time the market, but if you're paying market for it and then it's going to go up because of a number of factors that you believe in or that should happen, then it's not timing the market, it's just buying it at the right time. From that point in time to the point in time you exit that particular, you have to hold it. Yeah. And it's like employees, they cost money. The house, the property, it costs money. Land tax is a real thing. And
if the land tax was the only thing, it would be fantastic.
Exactly, but it's not.
No, it's not.
Then you go through the process of, okay, well, we've got to make some income on this.
Yes.
Then you have to deal with the property management companies.
Yeah.
And 99.9% of the property management companies
are shit.
are terrible.
Yes.
Probably the worst companies that I've ever had the pleasure
And
of
worst
doing.
business to have either.
Anything that could have gone wrong. And I've been an interesting candidate for this because I've been a rent vestor, so I will rent and a landlord at the same time.
So you've seen the both
of them, and I've seen technology startups go through this and implement these new programs to manage this. And I've watched them and seen it and how they haven't been able to deliver the level of expectation on what somebody should, because I've been able to see both sides. So then there's the challenge of holding that, and that's whether it be you've got to look after the tenants, whether it's the costs of that. So I think action, having a plan on each individual property that you're going into, and being, I was fortunate enough, to be able to hold properties and pay if they had a small mortgage on it, to be able to cover that. I also bought some properties, at 100% cash.
Yes.
And I probably wouldn't advise that either. It's just like, because you're like, oh, it's never going to run out, the capital. And you're like, I'll just buy it, because then I don't have to deal with all of the other things that go with it. Which is not always the right strategy. So having a very strong fiscal plan towards what you're going to do with this property. But for me, you mentioned opportunistic earlier on. For me, it was that Hendra is that bridesmaid suburb, and I have an ability and an opportunity and almost a requirement to make sure I shape the face of the way in which Hendra is going and has the way to go. Because I've seen builders come in and they don't care. They're just coming in, building the cheapest quality product, putting it up there.
Well, I think one thing that I love what you do, you kind of walked into new industry. Property development was relatively more new than anything to yourself. And a lot of people, when they make money somewhere and they start investing it somewhere else, they think they know everything. But I met you through, talking about property last year, and you're constantly putting yourself out there to learn yourself as an individual in the business that you are in.
Absolutely.
And one thing that I've seen throughout, 12, 13 real estate offices, unfortunately, a lot of developers and a lot of builders, the biggest mistake they do is exactly what you just said now. They would go into suburb like Hendra. They would build and develop what they think they love, what they think is good, and without realizing, hey, you're not going to buy your own freaking property. You know what I mean? You need to build it for the market that you are in at the moment. Exactly. So you actually minimize your losses.
And build it for longevity as well. I think, people always say all the time, but what about the building costs? What about the builder? Is the builder strong? I've built now with my builder. I went to high school with my builder.
Yes.
At JS. And John is just the most supreme builder that I've ever had the chance to work with. And his level to detail is very high and delivers a very good product. One property that he bought, which was that he built for us, was our family home. We ended up selling it last year, 2024, for a street record. And the product presented 7 or 8 years later, exactly as if it was brand new. And not just a street record, but an area record for that side of Hendra, because of the quality. We've just finished renting in one particular property, and, you look at it and, paper thin walls and, the buckling on the floor, and, the pool was cracking. All because that thought hadn't become into it. And I think these are the second rule is when property development is that you need to look at all of the elements to what's going on within that particular product and that particular placement of that property. Where's the sewage? Where's the drainage? Which way is the sun shining? What are the neighbours like? All of these things go into creating and curating an incredible property. And again, you make mistakes. I mean, I bought a property. We went out for a coffee. It was a old 1970s brick home. And we bought it at auction that day. And I didn't do any checks on it. Probably should have, right? It was a bloody great big storm.
That's not advice for anybody watching these. Don't buy anything without checking.
No. And look, the tools exist now to do the checks pretty quickly.
Correct.
You've got Develo to do checks. You've got RP data. You can go through and see the price history.
Or you can call it even town planner if you have one. There's a million different ways.
But I think that goes back to that risk appetite, right? So for me, I knew, and education. I knew the street. It's the best second street in Hendra, right? It's what I mean by that. there's your premium streets, and then there's those secondary level streets, second class streets. They're not second class by any way, but they're just not that absolute premium. So the best of those second class streets, and it was in the best position. And the house next door had just sold for $2.7 million.
So you had half of the ticks there.
Half the ticks there, right? So so the fact there was a stormwater, what did that mean? I'd have to build up.
Yes.
Now, time will tell if somebody finds that as an issue, but I don't think they will, because we've been able to design it in a beautiful way. So I think that's, being aware of what you're going to be building, building it for longevity as well, right? Not being there for the fly-by-night, going in there and building something and then moving on to the next area. You've really got to do what, some of the great product builders, and I mean the likes of a Mosaic, have been able to do. We talked about Mosaic earlier, we talked about Grayer, being able to build something which is going to be there for the long haul, and that multiple people are going to cherish that particular property and be able to live there, and then that brings up the area.
One of the challenges that I see with a lot of developers, or a lot of people leaving money industry and getting full-time into property development, if they're not cashed up, like when you started investing, you've had family office and cash behind you, which is your own money, that you can take the risk and still have money on the side. But a lot of people, I see them all the time. They put all the money in, and there's no other income, So one of the things that I kind of did things opposite as well. I was always building a business separate from property development companies, so I got a constantly cash cow. Cash cow that gives me two things. One, money coming through the door every day, and ability to borrow, because as just a property developer, there's no really income unless you actually got constantly doing enough property that you can justify it as an income so you can borrow more. But that's one of the biggest challenges for a lot of new property developers that are coming into the market. No cash flow coming in can be that bit of a handicap.
I completely agree. I mean, cash is king. We know that with any type of business. I think the ability to earn cash is completely underrated.
Oh.
And I think I was speaking to the Vuli installer yesterday. He said he has so much business that he can't keep up.
Yes.
Vuli are just about to go into, I actually know, it must be classified information, but Vuli are about to go into the US, already in the US. Yes. They must already be in the US because they've got a US store. I had a look at it yesterday. And he was going to go over there and help them build that. And do installations there or something. He was guiding on that. He said but there's so much business here.
Yes.
That something like, I don't know, thousands of people wanted their trampoline installed before Christmas.
Yes.
And 80% of them weren't able to be able to do so. Cash is just lying there ready to be taken by somebody who's willing to work for it. For me, it's like as Adam Hudson says, for instance, you're unemployable. I will never be employed by somebody, but I need cash flow to come in. Everybody does.
I'm a massive fan of either creating businesses that are cash flow, that money comes every day, or if I'm investing money into any companies, I got zero interest putting money, $500,000 into a business where the plan is only to make money in 5 years fucking exit.
Yeah, I think that dynamic has definitely changed in the tech industry.
That is changed heavily. People, those stories of Facebook, how they were not profitable for fucking 10, 15 years before they made $1 and they were worth billions of dollars. I think market has changed, or appetite from investors to invest into companies like that is changed.
It has. There's no doubt about it. And founders are influenced, heavily influenced. Now, if they're sitting across the table from a VC with a term sheet that's offering them $10 million and valuing their business at, $100 million, they're willing to take that cash, right, and put that into the business. And if the VC probably hasn't run the business before, or that type of business, and it's just saying, we just want growth, we want growth, we want growth, we want growth.
Yes. So all the money, just put it in.
Just put it in.
As fast as you can.
Why aren't you spending it enough? I think that's changed now in the fact that founders will still be led, but, there is so much pressure coming, whether it be from them to succeed or from the VCs to make sure that they're getting a return on their capital, that different investment decisions have been made now, and different strategies have been made to how they can how the founder can take that business to generating income very, very.
And I think a lot of founders that are trying to raise capital, they underestimate how hard it's actually to make business profitable.
To make business profitable, not to make money. Like it's
No.
to generate revenue.
Profitable.
Yeah.
For people thinking I'm going to make so much money, buddy, just become profitable.
Yeah.
Because on start of any business, becoming profitable is like winning a fucking lottery.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So, of course, we're all in the business so you can get a great outcome tomorrow and so on. But breaking that even moment, that is like people, that's almost like enough celebration, like exiting the fucking company in 10 years for $2 billion. And because it's not easy, with any business. How much do you think AI, how much risk is AI adding to businesses in general?
I just think it will create more efficiency in businesses to free up founders.
But I think at the same time, the reason why I think AI is risky for a lot of businesses, because a lot of businesses will be too slow to adapt using the tools that are in front of them. And that's why I call it dangerous, because it's like two of us pushing your car down the road. Instead of put petrol in it, turn the engine on, it's going to go faster than us pushing the car to get to the city. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I just feel like that there are still dinosaurs in every industry, right? And so some people, they take time to adapt things, but AI and what's happening in the tech world today, it kind of doesn't give you a choice, but you got to fucking adapt everything that's in front of you fast, otherwise you'll be left behind.
Yeah, I think people putting their day-to-day, hands-on businesses, right, where you are a mechanic, for instance,
yes.
or paying for a podcast producer, or
yes.
paying for a builder, right? It will bring efficiency to those businesses
yes.
if they adopt certain, but they won't adopt AI itself. They'll adopt programs and solutions which will bring efficiency to them.
As long as they adapt to that fast. Because people, anything new, it takes time. We are relatively still young to pick things up pretty freaking quickly.
Yeah.
But there will be a stage when we are 75 years old, unless you have unbelievable younger team around you that can pick things on your behalf, people can be left behind.
Of course. And I think there's two parts to it. There's AI, which is going to completely disrupt jobs that people are doing, right? I spent some time on the phone on a day the other day sorting out a spreadsheet with my sister. We were going through doing a business review, and using that process of what an accountant would do generally to try and work out what was wrong with the formulas and the spreadsheet and the way it was.
Yes.
Within 6 months, I mean, you can already fix that in ChatGPT or in one of the multiple of other platforms. But within, say, 6 to 12 months, that need will probably be gone. You'll put, you'll tell it a range of factors, and you'll put it into an engine, and that engine will produce an outcome. Then that starts to minimize the amount of headcount that is needed within an accountancy firm. Or, she will no longer require a data scientist within her business because she has a program to be that data scientist. If she doesn't adopt, then she'll be doing it herself, and that will be costing more time and money. And then
if people keep doing things themselves, and some competitors are using AI, which means anybody that is using anything to reduce their costs in the business, they become more competitive in the market.
Yep, exactly.
And end of the day, people do, compete, and price is the key too.
But I know we have gone through this process over the past rapidly for mass adoption over the past, say, 24 months. I still think we're very, very early into what the impact is.
I think we're not scratching the surface.
Correct. Yeah.
People keep talking about AI, and there are companies popping up freaking every day like mushrooms that are trying to teach people how to use AI, this and that. I was like, guys, you have no idea where this is gonna go. So I can't even. Normally, in life that we are living, you can kind of see where next 5-10 years is gonna go, right? Or anyway, over the last 45 years of my life, I feel like last 150 years, when first time they made the car, things were kind of moving fast. You know, the cars were going, I don't know, 10 kilometers an hour, Ford or whatever it was, and a little bit better cars and a little bit better cars. But I feel like, you know, from maybe, you know, 60s to late 80s, things were moving slower. And then from 2000 to 2020, you know, the world is changing faster. Human behavior is changing. I mean, you know, think about this. Other day I had a discussion with Simon. Simon, he said, I can't even watch a normal movie anymore because everything that he's watching on YouTube is times 2 speed. You know what I mean? So you can just watch it faster, you know. And when you're watching a movie with your wife next to you, you can't just say, let's just speed it up so you can watch 2-hour movie in 45 minutes, you know what I mean? It just loses that. But think about this, you know, people are used to TikTok, for example. They would watch what I would call 1,000 movies in 1 hour, just scrolling up. So human behavior, attention to detail, attention span, everything is just so fast. And that all is really happening over the last 10 years has been changing, right? So where the fuck is all this going next 10?
And I think this all impacts what we started off with, in that idea of distraction. You know, when you've got an entrepreneur trying to be the best they can be in building their business, they're so distracted. Oh. Right. And, you know, it might be about the next shiny thing. It's all there ready for them. I remember in the early 2000s, I was in Scotland and we were just awakening to YouTube, right? And, you know, the first things that were on YouTube that we were looking at was, you know, learn how to paint.
Yes,
right?
yes.
We're like, what else could this be used for?
Hey,
right?
Trust me, other day I was cooking a pig on the spit.
Yeah.
I think it was about 20 YouTube videos day before how to cook pig on the spit.
Just that day before. I
was watching, literally, I was like, freaking hell, how am I going to cook pig on the spit for 5 hours, you know? And I tell you what, it's unbelievable tools that we have, which is interesting. I always say generations have changed. When we were, 15 years old, the way you really learn things, either you learn it from what you learn in the school or what you hear, you know, from people that you know, starting from mom and dad and friends and so on. And what you learn is also from TV. And so the learning ability to have access to knowledge was so little then compared to what it is now. Right now, 2 of us can find anything we want to find within next 1 second. Yeah. Whatever, in how to build this or anything is in our hands today.
Well, we're launching a new...
So do you think people are smarter these days than what we used to be?
I think they're more practical, efficiency-driven beings. And because of the tools are there to be able to do so.
But do you think we also, as a human, losing ability to communicate?
Oh, I think there's an immense impact that's happened through the mobile phone to the human psyche, the human engagement,
yes.
The family engagement, the family methodology of communication, the family
yes.
methodology of understanding. And it's for parents having to deal with that. Like,
yes.
you know, they're on their phones all the time, whether they be scrolling or not. I use the excuse that I'm not scrolling, I'm working. And generally I am, because we're always working as entrepreneurs.
Yes.
But if your kids see that and then they're applying the same principles to their own devices, you know, can that be a detriment? I think it most likely will be over time.
Yes.
I know there's a lot of people say, you know, give them the skills early on. But it was only 5 years ago, 10 years ago that we were, we thought it was quite funny that a kid could pick up an iPad and know how to use it within, you know, a few days, right? Nowadays they can do everything on them, right? Like, we were playing basketball with my son yesterday and he starts telling me that his favorite artist is Eminem and Snoop Dogg, right? He's 6.
And you're like...
Right? Where did that come from?
No. Your answer would be, mine too, son.
Apparently he's coming at the end of the year, so we'll have to take him. But
so it will be crazy. You and a little 7-year-old son going that. Interesting. My nephew, my brother's got 4 kids, and my nephew is 10 years old.
Yeah.
I swear he was 2 years old.
Yeah.
Maybe not even 2. He was very, very 2 years old max. and he was able to scroll, on the apps, and you can just scroll them. I was like, you're 2 years old. How do you know how to,
And that wasn't that long ago that we were coming to. Well, maybe it was only because my kids are the age they are. But you're looking at this, and that's going to have a meaningful impact on the way in which humans communicate.
But how far can this be pushed without people losing that human?
Well, I think we're in a stage now where having some form of technology within our being, within our bodies itself, in some way. It might start as a wearable. It might start as the glasses. It might start as the. But eventually, I think that's going to become that stage where there is an embodiment of technology within our human bodies, and as a result of that changes the direction.
I'm a massive fan of education, right? Before, for example, I'm all about healthy living right now. I try to be. I think I picked up a lot of stuff from Simon. He really believes he's going to live till about freaking 300 years old. So everything to him is about living healthier, living longer, and so on. But a lot of stuff that we are all learning is constantly in front of us that wasn't 20 years ago, which is interesting. I went to when I went to Croatia last year. I went to a funeral. And on this big cemetery, I was looking at people that were dying in 80s and 70s. And a lot of them, I won't say all of them, a lot of them, they were living like age 60 to 65, in early, 80s or 70s. That was like, oh my God, that is so young. Do you know what I mean? It's like, 16, 17 years away from both of us, right? It's like, fuck, I don't want to die at age 60. I feel like I can go a little bit longer, right? Yeah. But it's interesting, and I think a lot of that comes from, before, I remember Giselle, when she was 18, 19, and 20, she would have all this pain in the stomach all the time, after big lunch or whatever. But, at that time, I don't know if it was available or not, but she didn't realize that she was gluten, for example. I mean, what the hell was gluten 25 years ago? I didn't know what it was. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So just the access to information these days, I think is so beneficial, but at the same time is a lot of kids that I can see these days. I was like, oof, technology and everything is so good for you, but it's so bad because you're losing that touch of communicating. Touch. Yeah. I'm your father, you my son. Put phone on the side. We are having a lunch. We're talking about how was school, let's be present.
But I firmly believe that's up to the parenting. Right? That comes down to how you parent.
100%.
And how much time. Kids need contact time. That contact time, 1 minute in contact time in their life is like scrolling on your life, right? And so if you spend 15 minutes with a child, and you give them your deep attention, the phone's away, deep attention, you help them with basketball, you help them with homework, you give that to them on a daily basis or on a regular basis.
Yes.
That compounds over time. That impact to them is like the same amount of you would spend scrolling, for 30 seconds, means nothing to you, means so much to them. And so I think it comes down to how you give back to your children as adults or those children that are out there, and how you guide them with this biggest transformation that's ever happened, right? Yes. And as adults and as parents, we don't have a guided book on whether or not it's right or wrong to allow them to be on that.
There was no university for you to learn
on the technology advancements in the past.
Not just that, also how to be a freaking parent. Full stop.
That too. But you could look back into history and you could say, okay, well, this is how I was parented. This is how we do. But now a vast percentage of the time is digitized, whether it be and you can't say
and you can't not let your kids be part of the world that we are living today.
No, you can't. And they're not, because if you go to any school, they've all got iPads, right? To be able to learn whatever it might be, right? Like, to learn English or learn maths or athletics and the kids get a lot from it. I
always think that that the biggest thing that humans need to learn, starting from kids and starting from us at this age, is how to be present.
Yep.
Because, when you are younger you are, I feel like faster you are going through life.
Yeah.
It's chasing, whatever it is. So I think, it took me a lot of time to learn how to be present. To be present in this, like, I'm enjoying this discussion. I don't see it like, fuck, I got to talk to Leon. I'm just going to ask him questions. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I got to jump in to do something else. And I got to have a quick lunch, and not even realizing who I'm having lunch with, So people, I don't think they're present. And before that, you probably heard it a lot of times from people that saying, oh my God, time goes so fast. Yeah. I don't like that. I don't like that. Time does goes fast, but at the same time, when you are present in everything that you do, then you kind of will slow the time a little bit because you know what the fuck is happening in your life instead of just chasing and going.
I agree. There's a point though where, if you're going all in on something and you've got a family and you're trying to build a business, you're trying to.
What are you going to say? Good fucking luck trying to be present in everything. Yeah, right? True.
And so we take a responsibility when we've been able to have that fortunate, fiscal event within our lives or exit or whatever.
And with me, I'm 45 and I think first 41, 2 years, I don't think what present meant.
Exactly. But you have a response. I think we have a responsibility to be able to teach our kids how not to be distracted, how to be focused on certain things. First rule of basketball that I said to my son yesterday, I used to coach basketball when I was in high school, but I said to him, the first rule is basketball is about calmness.
Yes.
Right? Now he's everywhere, right?
And the funny thing is, when you look at basketball players, you think to yourself, that's the last thing you would say because they're constantly running. Absolutely. What the fuck is calm about that?
But in here, they've got to be calm. They've got to be, and then all the greatest players of whatever it might be, they have this ability to be present in that game, present in the space that they need to be. But for everyday people that are going out there working hard, 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night, and coming home tired, it becomes very difficult, right? They've got mortgages, they've got cost of living, they've got all of these things. But it is our responsibility, I think, to be able to pass on to that next generation how not to be distracted, because distraction is right there in the mobile phone. And
that's why, interesting you're saying being calm, because everything moving forward is going to be more distraction. Not less, because these days technology is changing, and think about this, social media. If you take anybody's phone, even people that are freaking our age, you will see that most people spend not less than 2 hours on the phones, one way or the other, and smallest part of that 2 hours on the phone is actually by calling people. It's all about something. So I think we are all guilty of being distracted, so how do you teach your kids not to be distracted when you're distracted yourself?
It's about you putting in the effort, the time.
So you get a lead by example, even in front of your kids, because we all get distracted, right?
Absolutely. I mean, like they're not going to learn anything if you don't show them and you don't act as if in front of them. Sometimes you're fortunate enough to be in the position to be able to not be distracted, put the phone away or put whatever it might be. Other times you actually have to make sure that you're guiding, you're setting aside those times.
Yes.
Like people wake up and do their meditation.
When you started your business, you didn't have kids at all. When you started?
When I started, I've been an entrepreneur since 2000. I've worked for myself since 2003. So
no kids, right? If you didn't have business, and you got 3 kids and you're age 42 now, and you had a safe job elsewhere, would you start business today having 3 kids?
Absolutely. I'd get them involved.
Yes.
I think you have to get them involved. I mean,
because the risk is greater, right? Because you sold 2 homes to move.
I'm not saying start a business and go, that's all you do.
Yes.
But you can start a business on the side. Allscience.com.au. Right? Like, you just have to have somebody else's idea.
Yes.
You have to have the ability to articulate, and I mean, it's not very difficult to go online and watch a YouTube video and then follow a process. Why can't you take the kid on that journey?
Yes.
we started a business with my daughter, which was, she used to love fairy gardens. She's 10 now.
Yes.
Right? And nothing happens overnight. She was 10 now. But we used to go on fairy garden hunts when she was 4, 5, 6. And years ago, I bought the domain name fairygarden.com.
Yes.
Because, there was like 25,000 searches for people wanting fairy gardens across the world every single month. And I was like, we could sell something. But another rule in business is, if you have to manage stock globally,
yes.
that becomes, for me, at this stage in my life, I'm not going to do it.
Yes.
So I couldn't work out how we were going to monetize this particular site. Anyway, we worked out a way to do it. And it was about these immersive mats that you could, they're printed, print on demand mats. They're developed in AI. So we use AI engine to be able to design them up. And they look beautiful, fairygarden.com. You can have a look at it. And you sit down and the kid's going to get immersive in that. But the amount that she's learnt from that and spending time from that.
Yes.
So, Dad, how do we get this? Okay, well, firstly, we learn about the internet. Then how do we get the product? How do we design the product? Well, here's this engine where we can put into this. It's called Midjourney, and we can put in some instructions. So, what do you think kids your age or young kids younger are going to want to know about fairy gardens? She's going to go mystical and mushrooms.
And also, she's being creative. But you know what's interesting?
And
as a father, she's teaching you.
Yeah, absolutely. She's the one that knows.
You know what I mean? So she's a perfect market research.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so she feeds back this, and we work through it.
And also yourself as a father, you're spending more time with her because, even at this age, yesterday, I spent entire day with mom and dad.
Yeah.
And for about 2-3 hours, I was just sitting outside talking to my dad. And I was like, oh, he's priceless.
Priceless.
And I'm 45, Dad is 70.
Yeah.
Even I see it like
you
now.
You don't realize when a parent's not there, you realize just how much of a void.
Are your parents alive?
My father is, my mother isn't. She passed away last year.
Yes, you said that before.
A year before. That was, I didn't realize just how tough that would be.
And you know what? We are all guilty not spending enough time with our family.
Yeah, exactly.
We normally realize some things when it's too fucking late.
Yeah, there's always realizing when it's too late, and I think
we are also
making the call, having the conversation, and I
think we are full of excuses ourselves to say, you know what, I'm too busy to visit your mom and dad, especially when you are grinding, and you can always find time for family.
Yeah, I think it's about internal consciousness.
Yes.
You might think that there's a problem, but just who cares? Deal with the problem.
Yes.
Right? Get rid of it.
Of course.
Then once the problem's gone, then you can get on. And some people are very blessed to have.
How do you being when you're so deep in business, do you have any hobbies that take you away from thinking? Yeah. I call it, like for example, I love fishing, right? Yeah. I love supercars and so on, but I love fishing. And specifically sports fishing. Like if I'm catching a marlin, I'm fighting a freaking fish for 1-2 hours. I don't think about anything. There's nothing to think about because all he's trying to do is break my back, and I'm trying to pull him closer to my boat, and I got no energy, no space in my head to breathe, not alone to think about anything. Do you do anything for yourself?
Yes.
Because I feel like when we are in this build stage constantly, because being a born entrepreneur, your mind is insane because it's not like, there's no button that you can turn on that your head is only working 2 hours a day and 22 hours you're resting. Your mind is constantly. What is it that you do, that you take, that you do for yourself, that you take your mind to another place?
Yeah, I run marathons. So I've done 5 marathons now, 5
Which
or 6.
marathons did you do?
Last year I did the New York marathon.
Simon just went did the New York.
Yeah.
I meant to do it with him. We meant to train together. I bailed out.
Yeah, it's I don't really train for them. That's my biggest downfall.
Really?
Yeah.
So which is because to run 40 kilometers without training, that will just break you.
42 point.
42 because that 2 kilometers extra is like a 1,000 kilometers when you're in that space.
Absolutely. But what that teaches you is perseverance and dedication. I mean, the amount of emotional gratitude that you have at the end of a marathon.
But also the amount of pressure you have while you're doing it, because mind is the most powerful thing. Your mind is your best friend and your biggest enemy, because your mind is stronger than your body.
Well, that's the third core rule in business, right? Is resilience.
Yes.
Right? Being absolutely resilient to the pains and the challenges that will come along.
And they will.
Undoubtedly.
Yes.
Undoubtedly. We could get a letter tomorrow for poolscience.com.au from some national body saying that's not the right information. You have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Right? And they won't, because we've checked it. But the point being is like...
It's something's going to be always.
There's a customer that's not happy that they ordered today, it didn't come tomorrow, because we live in this direct-to-consumer economy today. You know, there's always going to be challenges along the way. My biggest, in business, my biggest, benefit or skill that I have is to sort of see 4 or 5 steps ahead of each element of the business, of where that could potentially be a risk or an opportunity. So I run.
Do you run every day?
I try to. This year I made the decision to run every day.
Do you walk or do you run?
No, I run. I've missed 3 days this year because we've just moved home, and my wife said 55,000 steps in a day moving is equivalent to going for a run. And
trust me, moving is not fun.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, running is more fun.
It doesn't matter how much wealth that you generate. Right? You still have to go through the process of moving, because nobody knows what
I got this. I always, when it comes to moving, I always got this strategy, right? I always said, you know what? I'm just going to tell Giselle, I got 20 meetings in a day. I'll pay 20 people. Just don't let me move any fucking fridges.
My wife Mara says that she's never moving again without me by her side, because every time we've moved over the past 6 times, she's had to do it. One time she had to fly back to Dublin.
Giselle is the same, and I tried to. I think I maybe got away twice. Pushing myself into working, but it's like, she said, you can't bullshit third time. You get back here. Huh?
But so marathons are the key. Or running for me is the key. We did New York, Dublin, Melbourne, Gold Coast a couple of times. In fact, talk about determination and resilience. We started a company recently called Yeah Buddy.
I saw that.
You see that?
I saw that.
And this is a passion project for me. But what I found through the power of the internet was this gentleman who was running 58 marathons across 58 states, across 58 days, across 2 countries.
That's the... is he a personal trainer as well?
He's done personal training in the past.
Yes, I think he follows me on Instagram. He's a Brisbane guy.
Yeah, Lachlan Stewart.
Yes.
Yeah. So he's... who does 58?
And right now, correct me if I'm wrong, he has just traveled to US to run.
Exactly. So he'll start in Alaska on the 22nd.
Run few.
And he'll do the first one in Alaska on the 22nd, and then he'll make his way down and across America. So every state from the 22nd onwards, every state of America, 50 states, he'll run a marathon every day.
Every day. And how many kilometers is that normally a day?
42.2.
Every day?
Every day.
So surely you're going to have a blisters by the day fucking 6, right?
He's already got blisters because we've been training for the past 6 months on it.
So he's going fucked.
Lucky he's got some Yeah Buddy socks to sort him out. But, and so he'll do that, and then he'll fly from there to Sydney, I think, and then he'll do every state of territory of Australia.
Yes.
And then he'll finish.
Is that, clearly it is physically possible, but freaking surely it's going to have a massive impact on your body, right?
Of course. But that's why they do so much bulk training up front. I never realized until probably this marathon afterwards just how bad it is and because I've got older as well, to not train for a marathon. It is very bad not to train for a marathon.
So how do you because listen to this is interesting how us human operate. You not training enough, if you don't train enough, you're going to run that marathon and be punished.
Correct. Yeah.
Because it's not going to be easier, right? It's going to be freaking harder because you didn't get prepared.
Yeah. But sometimes the world works in mysterious ways and you run it. Like the New York one, I ran it. I didn't do a great time, but I ran it. I got it completed.
Yes.
I pretty much ran it all the way. So I don't know how I didn't get that great a time, but the next day I was fine. I was walking around. I was like,
is it true that Boston Marathon you have to qualify to actually do it?
In Boston you do. And most of the 6 world majors and now 7 world majors, you will have to have a time. there is a way around that, and two ways around that. Number one is that you raise money for a charity.
Yes.
Generally, for New York, for instance, you can do that. So you guarantee, say, $4,000 or $5,000 that you will raise.
Or donate.
You effectively donate it, but you raise it.
Yes.
And that becomes your entrance to it. And the other is use a sports management tour company, which is generally what I do. And that's what we do. One of our promotions with Yeah Buddy is we believe in the everyday athlete. So an athlete that is just like you and I, whether you're waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning and you're working day in, day out just to try and keep fit and doing it for yourself, you are an athlete.
Were you always focused on fitness?
I've always been focused in some way.
So that one thing that I neglected heavily, first, I can truly say 43 years of my life. When I say I was always all in business, I feel like that's the only thing that I know. When my all in business is you open your eyes, you're working, and you close your eyes, that's when you stop working, right? And one thing that I was able to get away with, which is no excuse, my mind is just fucking so strong that even if I'm sluggish, if my body is not fit, my mind would tell my body, go and fuck yourself. Just keep going, no excuses, there's no such a thing as a tide. So my mind has brainwashed my fucking body into believing it.
Yeah.
But I tell you one thing, right now, over the last probably 2-3 months, there's no day at 5:45 that I don't go for 1 hour run.
Yeah.
Or all depends, could be, 40 minutes run, 20 minutes faster walk every day. And at age 45, I feel better than I did.
It doesn't take much and long.
That I did when I was even 25.
Yeah. And that's the thing. If you can start off and you can get out and move, right? The next day, putting on the shoes becomes a little bit easier. And there's hacks, right? Yeah. Put the shoes out with the underpants. Or the
do you do much recovery?
I try to. I've got a total fusion pass, and we've been moving from home to home, so we haven't been able to put down in your home a beautiful recovery sessions.
I am. I was talking to Simon. He spent I think $250,000 on the cryo, and he built the ice bath, sauna, and steam room, and I said, why the fuck would you spend 250 grand on cryo, right? He said, Emil, are you putting value on your health? He said, look at your cars.
Yeah.
And how much you're getting, how much joy you're going to get out of the car compares to how much joy you're going to have being healthy as a human, right? And now the home that we have built, every morning after we just got a personal trainer. But even before him, every morning, first thing I do, as soon as I wake up, straight away, sauna 15 minutes, 1-2 minutes ice bath, then steam room, 15 minutes and 1-2 minutes ice bath, and I feel like different human.
Powerhouse.
I can't explain to you, but what's even better, which I will have from this Friday, and I've done it at Simon's home, we would go into cryo for 4 minutes, -100. Well, the one that I got is -115. One that he's got is -87. So -115 degrees for 4 minutes. And then jump into steam room, again, freaking burning hot. From steam room into ice bath, from ice bath into sauna, from sauna into ice bath, finish it off. You feel like, even if you ran a 42.5 kilometer marathon, you feel like you can go and run another one.
Yeah, of course.
It's unbelievable. And maybe I'm coming to the age where recovery is more important. When you're 20 years old, you feel like you can fucking run Mount Everest up and down within a day. Yeah,
no, I think recovery is the key to anything. I mean, nutrition and recovery is the key to any form of athletics, endeavor, because it does impact that longevity, right? The amount, but you need the dedication to keep it up. Having the facilities in your own home, you roll out of bed and you give access to them. I think is surreal, right? It would be incredible to have.
And to be honest, even myself, it's like, Emil, you're the dumbest fucking person in the world. I can't believe it took you this long to put really this much, you should really put so much value on your health a lot earlier.
I think you can reverse aging quite, I don't know
well, I'm hoping there's going to be my case that I'm going to start
in some way, or at least stop the stop the impacts of bad poor judgment decisions by, really getting behind it. But I think, having that ability to have that recovery processes in place is something phenomenal. I mean, you must.
At this moment, to be honest, it's such a game changer for me as well. And another thing that is changing my life, because both of us are working all the time. Having a chef, that has changed life to the point where you're just eating better, eating healthier, and everything is just, the food is just a massive part of how we're going to feel end of the day.
Yeah.
What do we eat? It's been pleasure having you here, man. It's been pleasure, having you, in my own home and having this conversation. And thank you for coming, man. I look forward to having you again and, awesome discussions.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure.
Good to see you. Thanks.
Boom.